Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about data hazard which are occurring at the pipeline the data path. So data hazard is arising mainly due to the data dependency between two or more instructions. Uh, in case of data hazard, the pipeline gets stalled because one instruction may be waiting for the result from another instruction. So consider in this case, so we have data dependency between these two instructions on the register S0. So while executing, the first instruction will be having the result at the register S0 only at the clock cycle number 5. So second instruction has to wait for the result from the first instruction. In the normal execution of pipelining, the second instruction is expected to execute the data at clock cycle number 4. T3 will be available, but S0 will be available only after the processing of first instruction. Here the first instruction data will be available only at clock cycle number 5. So execution of second instruction is happening only at clock cycle number 6. Here two clock cycle get wasted due to data hazard. It is mainly because of the data dependency between these two instructions. So there are three different types of data hazard which can occur in case of data path of a pipeline. First one is read after write. This dependency is known as true dependency. So this is the case what we have seen in the previous slide. So here the dependency is due to the register S0. Read after write. The second instruction is reading the register S0 after the first instruction is writing the data to the register S0. So this is a very vital dependency which has to be taken care very well to overcome the data hazard. The second case is write after read. So here dependency on these two instruction on the register number T2. So here writing of the second instruction is happening after reading the same register by the first instruction. That is read after write after read. This is known as anti-name dependency. In MIPS 32 architecture, we no need to bother about write after read hazard or anti-name dependency. Why? Because the first instruction is going to fetch the instruction in the second stage itself, but we are going to update the T2 register in case of the second instruction only at clock cycle number 6. So there won't be any hardware conflict between first two instructions in case of T2, in case of MIPS 32 architecture. So no need to bother about write after read data hazard. So write after write. First instruction is second instruction is writing the data on register S2. After first instruction is writing the data on the same register. So in MIPS 32 architecture, we no need to bother about this hazard also. Why? Because the first instruction is accessing register S1 for writing the data in the fifth clock cycle, and second instruction will be accessing S1 register in the sixth clock cycle only in case of MIPS 32 architecture. So there won't be any conflict on register S1 in case of MIPS 32 architecture. So no need to bother about write after read as well as write after write, but we have to be taken very much care on the read after write data hazard, that is true name dependency. Why? Because the second instruction has to wait for the result from the first instructions. So we have three different techniques to overcome the data hazard. First one is forwarding or bypassing the result which is obtained in the ALU in case of first instruction pipeline. That has to be forwarded to second instruction pipeline. For example, so we are going to consider the same example. In the previous case, we have seen that second instruction has to wait for the result from the first instruction, which is not happening here. Actually, the S0 the computation of T0 plus T1, the result will be available after the third clock cycle itself. That can be directly forwarded to the second instruction pipeline execution stage by installing a hardware unit. So that forwarding unit will be taking care this forwarding or bypassing mechanism. Bypassing means we are bypassing the data on this fourth and fifth clock cycle, and it will be reaching the second pipeline stage execution. So T3 will be available when the processor decoding the instruction, and S0 will be getting forwarded from the previous instruction pipeline after it get executed through the ALU. So that two clock cycle wastage is getting avoided here. So forwarding or bypassing mechanism is a best solution to overcome the data hazard in case of arithmetic instructions. But in case of load instruction, it may not be the case. So this is an example. Here 5 instructions are having dependency on the register 2. So in case the first instruction is getting the output in the second register only after the fifth clock cycle, but second instruction need that data in the third clock cycle. Third instruction is requiring that data in the fourth clock cycle. A fourth instruction is requiring the same data in the fifth clock cycle, and fifth instruction is requiring the data in the sixth clock cycle. So this data hazard can be overcome by forwarding or bypassing mechanism. So this is well implemented in this particular picture. So first instruction will be computing the data for register 2 after the third clock cycle. That can be forwarded to next instruction pipeline ALU stage. So here the data hazard problem is getting avoided. So in the fourth clock cycle, the data will be the first instruction will be accessing the memory. So this instruction pipeline will be having the register data, the second register data. So forwarding that data to this third instruction pipeline for execution to overcome the data hazard. So in the fourth instruction, we need the same registered data twice for calculating the calculating the result for 14th register. So at that time we have to directly forward the first instruction result from the fifth stage to the second stage of the fourth instruction pipeline. So in case of fifth instruction, already the data is loaded to register number 2 after fifth clock cycle. So here we need the same data in the sixth clock cycle only. So already data is available in the register. So the fifth instruction can fetch the data directly from the register itself. So no forwarding mechanism is required in case of last instruction. So this is how we can able to overcome the data hazard in case of arithmetic instruction. So a forwarding hardware unit is established in the pipelined path. So this forwarding unit will be taking care of forwarding the data from previous execution stage to the next execution stage, next pipelined execution stage. But in case of load word, this is not the case. So in this example, while executing, the data for S0 will be available only after fourth clock cycle. So normally in the arithmetic instruction, after execution stage, you will be having the data. But here the execution stage ALU will be computing only the address from which the data to be loaded. Only the address will be having as a result of ALU. So the data will be available for the register S0 only after the fourth clock cycle by accessing the data memory. So even though if we are implementing the forwarding or bypassing mechanism, so in case of load word instruction, so pipelining may stalled. So this can be overcome by only by implementing bubble or pipelining stall between these two instructions. So in the hardware side, we will be implementing pipelining stall or bubble. So as the software side, we can able to implement the command NOP for the compiler. So compiler will be including this particular command between these two instructions to overcome the pipeline hazard or this data hazard by delaying the second instruction by one clock cycle. The hardware implementation or the pipelining stall implementation will require an extra hardware, so it will increase the area of the data path implementation as well as the cost. But in case of software pipeline stall, by including the NOP command through compiler, so we have to completely depend on the compiler's decision. So that is the main drawback of using NOP. So we will be rely on the compiler always. The third option to deal with data hazard is reordering the code. For example, consider the C statement and its corresponding assembly code. The first two instructions are used to load the data for B and D. To load the data for F, it is written as a fifth instruction. So T4 is the data which is loaded in case of F, but it is immediately required in the next clock cycle. So it may lead to load use data hazard. So by rearranging the reordering this code, we can able to overcome this load use data hazard by like this. So whenever we want to load the data for a particular C statement, so that loading instructions has to be written as the in the initial stage itself, so that so whenever the data is required, so the data will be available for execution. So no need to waste any clock cycle by waiting for the data from the previous stage. So load use data hazard can be effectively handled by reordering the code. Consider this exercise problem which is mentioned in the textbook Computer Organization and Design by David A. Patterson. We have three instructions. The first question is we have to find the dependencies between these three instructions. Initially we are comparing instruction 1 and 2. We have two different dependencies, one due to register number R1, one is due to register number R2. So here the second instruction is waiting for the data from the first instruction in case of register R1. So it is true dependency. So read after write. The register number 2, it is write after read. So that is anti-dependency. So anti-name dependency is not a serious problem in MIPS 32 architecture, but true dependency has to be overcome by implementing forwarding or bypassing. We are comparing instruction 1 and 3. So instruction 1 and 3 also we have two dependencies due to the same register R1. Here the R1 is waiting for the data from the first instruction, that is true dependency, read after write. The second dependency again due to R1, write after write, that is output dependency. So output dependency is also not a major issue in MIPS 32 architecture. So in case here true dependency has to be overcome by implementing forwarding or bypassing. The third case we are comparing instruction 2 and 3. Here also we have two dependencies, one is due to R2 and another one is due to R1. So R2 is waiting for the data from the instruction 2, so it is read after write. So it is a true dependency that has to be overcome by implementing forwarding or bypassing mechanism. The second dependency is write after read. So this is anti-name dependency. It is not a major issue. The second question is, so we have to assume that there is no forwarding mechanism is allowed in the processor. So we have to overcome the hazard if it is present by implementing the command NOP in the compiler side. So we have already seen we have data dependencies between 1 and 2, 1 and 3 and 2 and 3. So while executing the first two instruction, it is clear that the second instruction has to wait for 2 more clock cycles to get the data from the previous stage. So this pipelining hazard has to be overcome by inserting 2 NOP command between first and second instruction. Now R1 is available after the 5th clock cycle. So R1 can be utilized in the sixth clock cycle for the execution by the second instruction. But the third instruction having the dependency on second instruction as well as first instruction. So first instruction, it is depending on register number R1. In the second instruction, it is depending on the register number register R2. So R1 will be available after the sixth clock cycle, but R2 will be available only after the eighth clock cycle. So while executing, the third instruction has to wait for 4 clock cycle to get the data from instruction 1 and 2. So we have to introduce 4 NOP command by the compiler to overcome this data hazard. So this is the result, the finalized instruction to be executed by the compiler, so that we can able to overcome the data hazard. In between first two instruction, we have to introduce 2 NOP commands. Between second and third instruction, we have to introduce 4 NOP commands. The third question is, now the forwarding is allowed, so we have to overcome the hazard, and after full forwarding is implemented, we have to check again, is there any hazard or is there or not. If it is present, we have to overcome it by introducing NOP instruction by the compiler. So while executing the first instruction, so by full forwarding mechanism, the R1 will be available after the third clock cycle itself. So we can able to forward it easily to the fourth clock cycle of the second instruction pipeline to overcome the hazard between first and second instruction. Now R1 will be available after the third clock cycle, so it can be able to made available for the second instruction at the fourth clock cycle, so we can able to overcome the hazard between first and second instruction. So while executing the third instruction will be requiring the registers R1 and R2 data at clock cycle number 5. So we can able to forward R1 from the memory access stage, and R2 will be available in the after the fourth clock cycle of the execution stage of the second instruction. That also we can able to forward to the third pipeline stage. So we can able to make the R1 as well as R2 data available for the execution of the third instruction. So there won't be any hazard by implementing full forwarding. So no operation command need not be included in the compiler code to overcome the data hazard, since we don't have any data hazard by implementing the full forwarding. So by implementing full forwarding, we have overcome the data hazard in case of these 3 instructions. Thank you.